Hi and welcome back to the course. In this video we're going to get started coding our new project. Now, our project is starting to grow and it will do so more and more throughout this section, so it's going to make sense for us to start using folders to make sure our code is a bit more organized. Now, folders in Python are also called packages most of the time. So what we're going to do is create a couple of packages, and there's a minor difference between a package and a folder, and we're going to see that in a moment. The first thing we have to do is to, in our code folder, right-click here on Atom and create a new folder, and we're going to call this Models. And then outside the Models folder, so just beside it, we're going to create another folder which we're going to call Resources. Okay, and I put that inside the models folder, so all we have to do is drag it out, and that's fine. Okay, so now the models and the resources folder are side by side, not one inside of another. Okay. Now, these two things here are folders. They are not packages. And in Python 3.5, this difference starts to make less sense, but certainly in Python 2.7 and earlier versions, this makes a lot of a difference. What we have to do to make these things packages are to create a new file and call it __init__.py. Okay. And similarly in the models, a new file there called __init__.py. Make sure that that is 2 underscores on each end. And all that does is it tells Python that it can look inside these folders for Python files. If you don't have the init.py and you're using Python 3.5, it will most likely work. But if you're using an older version of Python, then it won't really look in those folders unless you have the init.py. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look into the item.py and realize that we have a resource. And then at the very bottom, we've got an item list, which is a resource, and the user.py is also a resource, or should be a resource there as well, the user register thing here. So what we're going to do is we are going to move the user and the item files into the resources folder. We're going to deal with the class user in a moment. That's not a resource, so it doesn't belong in this folder. But the user register class does belong in the folder, okay? So what we've done is, I'm going to close all these tabs, is we've moved the item and the user files into the resources folder because they mostly contain resources. We're going to move the class user out of here soon, but not just now, in the next video. Okay, so now we've moved these things into the resources package, rather. I've been calling it folder, but really it's a package. Now we have to make sure that the other files know where these files have moved to. So let's go into the app.py, and notice that here we're importing from user, and that just looks at the user file beside app, but that no longer exists. Now it is resources.user, and that's going to look in the resources package and find the user file. Okay, and the same thing for resources.item. It's going to look in the resources package and then in the items file. That's all of the changes we have to do in the app.py, but remember we've also got security.py, which imports user, so we have to make sure to add resources.user there as well. An interesting thing though, the user class that we've been talking about is not a resource. The user register class is a resource. So once again, the user class is not a resource. The user register class is a resource. So we know the user class doesn't belong inside the resources package, but it is there for now, so we have to make sure to import it correctly from our security file. Okay. That's everything for this video. Do make sure to go to Postman and verify this all works just as it did in the last section. We're not going to do that here because we've not actually changed any things that our code does. We've only really moved things about. So believe me, it does work. And in the next video, we're going to continue improving this code. So I'll see you there.